Hey guys, what's up here? I'm Nick Faribaugh here with Derek Bell. We're going to do a little bit of a special thing here today, breaking down some film, some Steelers film from the Giants-Steelers game, and then the next opponent, Denver Broncos, this Sunday. We came together here, thought this would be a little nice event here to break down some film for you guys. I know Derek and I are super excited to bring this to you guys. We're going to start out right away. Darius Slayton. Let's start with our first play. The Darius Slayton touchdown. And Derek, you and I both, we've seen wide speculation of this all over our Twitter timelines, all over articles written by numerous beat writers. Who was at fault for the Darius Slayton touchdown? So let's break down this play a little bit. So when we get the play, we get this wide split from Darius Slayton. And Derek, tell me how that factors in this whole thing.
So the Steelers are going to come out in a single high look. Obviously, you see Nelson about 5 yards off. The reason why this is important is because it forces basically a one-on-one matchup towards the boundary. You get – if you go ahead and roll the play –
Yep. Gotcha.
You can see first off how Slayton immediately runs this route towards the boundary, which gets gets Nelson, to open up his hips.
Yeah, take a look at you see him attack his leverage, his outside leverage.
Well, it's his blind spot too. So at this point, you see Nelson kind of get on his heels. Once he gets towards the 20-yard line, he kind of gets on his heels, and from there it's basically a foot race.
Yep. And here's what
the reason why this is important is because, as I think most people have kind of caught on by now, like you said, with the numerous articles and everything, and the Steelers running a lot of this, I don't know what you call it, Nick, but
it's called cover.
Cut and replace. I think some coordinators call it cutting and replacing. I know the Steelers call it an undercall, right?
Yeah, they call it under. This is their Steelers undercall. I know coaches call this foxing, where what Minka does is he foxes. So basically the undercall is you have the number one from the backside, and then you have Slayton, the number two. If the number one comes from the backside, runs an inside route across her, the safety will come down and the corner will replace them as a single high, and that's the undercall. That's Saban. This is match man. So this is Saban. This is a complex Steelers scheme, but the Steelers have been running this for years, back to the Ryan Clark days. This is also called zombie in the Steelers scheme. This is zombie, but it is the Saban undercall. And what you'll see is in this play, you'll see the tight end come on a crosser. Minka replaces. Joe has to get back. And why this is tough, for one thing, Joe Hayden has to cover all this ground. And it's made harder by the Slayton split. Look at how wide he is. He's wide of the numbers. This is a very wide split. And it's so he can run this post skinny. So you have to make Joe Hayden run all the way there to get him. And what you'll see is this is a very skinny route by Darius Slayton. And Daniel Jones, by the way, something you got to give credit to, good throw. Money throw from Daniel Jones.
That's a dumb.
Put it in a better spot. And Joe Hayden just can't make this play. If Daniel Jones leads him two more yards, Hayden's got this play. This is a perfect play. And they saw this last year. Again, they ran it against the Jets. They ran it numerous times. This is a schemed play from Jason Garrett to attack the Steelers. And it's not Minka's fault. That's his job to take the crosser. This is Joe Hayden's fault. But sometimes, tip of the cap. You got to give a tip of the cap.
And another thing, I think people, I saw some people commenting on articles and things like that. Joe has to get there, because it is his responsibility to replace Minka as the deep field safety in this cover three look, which is true. It is his responsibility. But I think another thing people are losing sight on, this is a really run heavy. This is a run heavy formation. So this is not something that is guaranteeing you are guaranteed as like a pass play. So like Hayden, with him being on the outside, he's also like the force or the edge defender on this play as well. Like you saw him, I think it was earlier in the game, he came down and cracked the puller, which strung Barkley out, and he got ran out of bounds, which was an awesome play by Hayden. But he has to worry about the run here as well. And then that's another part of the reason why they go with this play action too, is just obviously sink the linebackers forward for the crosser potentially coming over. But also it holds Hayden a little bit too. I saw Ryan Clark. I talked about this a little bit earlier too, but Ryan Clark tweeted something out about Hayden needing to like get on his horse immediately. And like you mentioned, Nick, I just don't know if a 31-year-old corner is going to be capable of covering that much ground. Maybe like your Jalen Ramseys, your Denzel Wards, like your really physically gifted corners. We've seen Ramsey make some crazy plays on the ball against us in years past. Denzel Ward as well in the couple years he's been in Cleveland. But this is not a play that like a 31-year-old corner is really going to be able to make. It's just he's put in a really difficult spot here by the play call.
Yeah, it's just not going to be. It's not possible. And so who do we blame here? Technically, Joe Hayden. Really, though, just a great throw and a better schematic play by Jason Garrett and the Giants, which honestly was rare on the day. Jason Garrett did not call a good game at all. But
I think it's tough to admit that as like fans too. Sometimes, like we always, as soon as this play happened, everyone on Twitter is blaming, Minka. He shouldn't have jumped on the over route. They're blaming Nelson because he gets cooked here. They're blaming Hayden because he comes in the picture late and they think he should be there earlier. But and I also saw like a couple people saying that like Steve Nelson didn't have a good game on Monday night. I don't think Steve had his best game as a Steeler. It actually probably was one of his worst. But that was also because he was phenomenal last year. He was locked down. But you also have to understand on this play in particular, they don't know this like Yankee concept, this over with the post behind it. He doesn't know pre-snap that this is coming. But Steve is also defending this as if he's going to have help over top. So he's not defending this like he's on an island. So he's expecting help over top, and it turns out he doesn't have it.
Yeah. So this is just
a really great play call and a great throw.
And I mean, they had run a lot out of 13 personnel, which is what they're in here, and just a really, really, really good call by the New York Giants. All right. So the next play we're going to highlight here, the sail play that Big Ben misses. Derek, you pointed this one out. Steelers in a 2-by-2 formation. Stack look with Deontay Johnson on the line as the X receiver. Juju Smith-Schuster there on him as well. James Washington to the boundary. Eric Ebron in line. What do you see here pre-snap, first off, that really makes you like this play?
I think pre-snap, this has to be exactly what the Steelers want to see. I mean, you get a two-show, like a two-high look from the Giants. They're not disguising it at all, really. This safety towards the bottom is kind of down low a little bit, but, I mean, he's bailing out. You get a stack look up at the top of the screen with Deontay and Juju, which is going to give pretty much both of them easy release. As you can see, once you start playing it forward, Johnson gets up the ball really easy here. You see Ben kind of look to his left immediately, but for whatever reason, comes back towards the middle of the field. What was your theory as far as like why he could have did that?
Yeah, so my theory is here. First off, I think his primary read to the left side is Juju Smith-Schuster. This is in the no-huddle drill before the half. I think they're trying to get Big Ben in a rhythm, and I think they're trying to get this quick out route. The issue is we got outside leverage from this corner. Juju doesn't really have much to work with there. He does end up getting slightly open, but by that time, Ben has already looked at the middle of the field. My theory is because I saw this a little bit in Matt Canada's playbook. This is a Y option route for Eric Ebron, and what that simply means is he reads the coverage. He can run an out route, stop at a hitch, run an in route, or double move this up the seam. So this is cover 2 man, and we know seam beaters obviously cook the heck out of cover 2 schemes. My theory is he was expecting Ebron to chop here and carry this up, and this is why he looked off Deontay Johnson. He was expecting to fire this one up the seam, but Ebron runs an out route instead, perhaps just missing the coverage. And I mean, that if so, that's on Eric Ebron. I need to be in the film room to completely know that. That is a possible explanation. Another simple explanation here, Ben simply misses Deontay Johnson on this route. And mainly because of the pocket, right? I mean, Derek, you can talk a little bit about this. Ben in the first half with pressure.
So I think the Giants, they were able to get to him a couple times early in the game, and like obviously we know with watching the Steelers defense week in, week out, you know kind of what that does to a quarterback and kind of like mentally. If you can see here on his drop back when he hits that last step and starts coming forward, you see him get a little choppy, like he has those couple short choppy steps. It just looks like he's not fully comfortable with the pocket around him. And on this play in particular, protection's pretty good. Like if you look, he's got Samuels leaking out. Samuels doesn't even really need to chip anybody. The pocket's good. Even if he does want to go to Deontay, who's wide open. I mean, you look at Deontay on his break, does a great job kind of whipping that outside and selling this route. I think that's against Darnay Holmes.
Yep.
But the ball's just late. I'm not really sure why I'm not sure if he thought that he could come back to that. Maybe it was a depth thing, but I think this is just a ball that he's got to hit, and one that he will hit, 9 times out of 10, I think, if this is the read. But the sail route in general against cover 2 man is, that's money. Yeah. That's exactly what you want to see. That's why, for me, I was perplexed, while watching it live, that he missed that throw, because Deontay does get a lot of separation per the usual. But as Nick mentioned, there might have been a reason for him to do that, and that could be if Ebron does have a Y option down here, where he can either, if it's a two-way go, if he can, come across the middle, go to the out route, or like a double move up the seam. If it is an option route, Ben could have been trying to look off this top safety, which he does. If you look, when he does look to his left, the top safety does move. He might have been able to create like a bigger throwing window over the middle of the field for Ebron to cut that up on the double move.
And here's why this also makes sense. Look at where his throwing angle is as he looks back. Right? It's
right in the middle.
Right in the middle of the field. You can see he's expecting Ebron to either come up the middle or dash up the seam, it looks like. But if it's not on Ebron, this is on Ben for not reading. Maybe he just gets jittery, doesn't read the coverage properly. Because sail routes on cover 2 man are money, especially with the route runner like Deontay Johnson. Maybe he was a little bit antsy at throwing it to Deontay Johnson given his first half events, because Deontay was definitely a little jittery himself.
Right.
Maybe it was a trust issue. And
that's another thing that I thought about as well, as far as like, and another thing to keep in mind, Ben and Deontay haven't really practiced a ton together. I mean, Deontay's missed a lot of time as far as practice goes, both last year's training camp. You go back to, that was really the only time Ben was not even 100% healthy, but available. And Deontay missed most of last training camp in the off-season work with injuries, and then he's missed quite a bit of time leading up to this game. So he hasn't maybe had the same reps that some of the other receivers have had with Ben. But he does go back to Deontay, I think, a play or two later, and that's the drag route that Deontay drops over the middle. So I just think, in general, these two are just going to need – this could also just be a timing thing, where these two are just going to need a little bit more time together as far as to get the timing right. But you did see glimpses of that once Ben got more in a rhythm towards the end of this drive and into the second half. And Deontay kind of get into a rhythm with him. We saw a really nice back shoulder throw that was on the money. That's something him and AB made, look so easy from game in, game out. But it's definitely a missed opportunity, though. I mean, they still end up scoring, but this is like one of those things that you see, I think, on tape the day after, 2 days after, that you look at like as it's kind of a bummer that you missed it, because it's the perfect play call, it's the perfect coverage, and you come away with nothing. So.
Yep, and I think, again, maybe they had a halftime talk together, Ben, cooled down, not just himself, Ben feeling much better after the touchdown, cooling down Deontay, and they went after it in the second half and both played a very stellar second half themselves. We're here moving on to this Chase Claypool catch, obviously. The play most people are talking about on the offensive side of the ball, the rookie, the very hyped-up rookie Chase Claypool making a great toe-tapping grab. But, Derek, there was a few things pre-snap and really during the play that make this play a little bit more extraordinary than it kind of meets the eye, more than just the great catch by Claypool.
All right, so, again, Giants are sitting in cover 2 man. You get a press look all the way across the board here. Juju comes in motion, like this like fake motion. Mm-hmm. That's going to tell them that it's for sure man-to-man. As the play runs, you see this mesh concept at the bottom where Ebron and Deontay are going to cross. So normally you get one guy who's trying to find contact, like he's trying to create the rub, which is Ebron here. The Steelers used a lot of these. Like you saw a lot of pick plays because the Giants were in a lot of these like press man looks. Patrick Graham, the Giants D coordinator, he comes from the Belichick tree. So you're going to get a lot of this like press man, sometimes cover 0 looks, and these pick plays, they're money against him. So, but you see like he has Deontay open and he's cutting in front of his face. But I think Ben sees this like from the jump and says that he's going to give Claypool a shot here. Mm-hmm. What do you think?
I totally agree. I mean, I think Deontay, this is 3rd and 8. Deontay gets his first down easy if he hits him.
Definitely.
Technically, this is bad process by Big Ben. He definitely should take the route to Deontay. This is a risk, but this is a money play. And let's talk about what Claypool does here to kind of win. So let's watch it fast first. This is purely off the line of scrimmage. What does he do? Watch 1, 2, right up on the toes of Bradbury. He's going to open up the outside window, a back shoulder window at least, and he's gonna fight that inside shoulder of Bradbury's. Going to get a little bit of separation, but this is kind of what makes it. Ben puts this in a perfect spot. You could not put it better. This is technically offensive pass interference. It technically is, but hiding offensive pass interference is more and more a skill every day. AB did it great. Juju does it a lot. And Claypool is doing it great here too. A slight push off to get a little bit of separation, and this is just a great catch. Unreal body control, great awareness, great play. That's called being physical. That's Claypool using his size and his physicality as a weapon on the boundary and then doing what he does best, making these tough grabs. And Big Ben, watch Big Ben. Banner gets pushed back into him. So he's stepping up into this throw, and Banner gets pushed right into him. That's an impressive throw by Big Ben here. This is one of those throws where you look at it and you say, oh, he's back. He's back from that elbow. I think Derek, you and I can both agree this is, while a great play by Claypool, that's a money throw by Big Ben too.
No, I definitely agree. Yeah, like you said, Banner kind of loses his leverage and gets kind of driven back right into his throwing lane here. Ben doesn't even really get a chance to step in with this. This throw is all arm. So there was a couple different examples in the game. The other one being the slant flat combo to Johnson that was broken up / dropped earlier in the game. But like you could tell a couple different times that Ben really trusts his arm right now. Even if like we didn't see like any or like many of those incredible classic like vintage like lasers that we're accustomed to with him. I think we did see a couple throws that kind of definitely alleviate some of the concerns about like his arm strength. I mean, you're not throwing this ball against cover two on a go route from the opposite hash, nonetheless, unless you really trust your arm strength. So,
and you also trust the receiver. So this
yeah, and the receiver as well.
Claypool was out there every day, training camp. They built a rapport up, clearly showing Ben has not been lying about his trust in the receiver. Good play to start off the career for Chase Claypool. Great throw by Ben. Bad process by Ben, technically. He should have hit Deontay. But you know what? It's fun to watch.
And I think that's another thing, too, that they were missing a little bit last year with Mason and Duck. Like, I think a lot of times I know myself and other people that, were really following the team closely kind of got frustrated with because it seemed like, especially on third downs, you saw just a lot of conservative check downs to the running backs, check downs to the tight end, not going for the sticks. And obviously this is well past the first down marker, but, sometimes it is a good thing to take risks. It backs the defenders off. It makes the coordinators think about like the types of coverages that they can deploy. So like you said, is it good processing on this particular play? Not really, but I think it is like a little bit of a welcome sight for me, especially to see like, that he's not afraid to take shots down the field because this offense was so anemic to plays like that last year.
Yeah, absolutely agree on that. And, we're going to head over to the Denver Broncos now. Watch a little bit more of receivers, Jerry Jeudy specifically, who is a stud himself. So the Broncos here, Jerry Jeudy specifically, who we are highlighting on this play, doesn't even get the football on this play, but a very talented young receiver. I think Derrick and I both very high on this young receiver out of Alabama, who we both studied in the draft process last year. A very talented receiver, Derrick.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really sure as far as like where he fell in your rankings, but for me, he's the best receiver in the draft. I know a lot of people kind of cooled on him a little bit after he maybe didn't run the 4.40 that some were expecting, but I think this kid's gonna be a star in the slots, especially on this route in particular. If you roll it back to the beginning, he's gonna be. This is man to man. He actually draws a rookie. I think he's only playing really because Adoree Jackson missed his game. You see him come off the line of scrimmage with this little like hop step, which is kind of like a Devontae Adams thing. That's something he does, and basically what he's doing is just trying to size up the defender. So like he's sizing him up right here. He knows he wants the outside release. Then he stacks him. And if you see, like, it's going to be kind of hard to tell in the recording, but he actually flips his head inside to get the defender thinking that he's going to run like an over route, and then breaks back outside on this blaze out. And you can see he's got freaking, 6-7 yards of separation. It's an awesome route. It kind of gives you a little bit of a glimpse inside his skill set. I know that was the number one thing for me that made him so attractive. I definitely have a type towards receivers. I love guys that can separate, and that's why I'm so high on Deontay Johnson as far as like his ceiling as a receiver in Pittsburgh. But I think Jeudy separates at an elite level, and I think that's what's going to make him difficult to defend for the Steelers in the slot on Sunday. So
yeah, let's watch this a little bit slower. Watch his feet as he comes in, and I know you said this was to set him up. It is to do that, but also draw. You have inside shade. Well, you have a slight outside shade actually on the front foot of Jeudy. As he jumps in, what he's going to do is cause this corner to slide inside. So you're getting him to move his feet, and watch Jeudy here. Watch as he stems it inside. Watch his just 1 foot, and he goes. That's violent feet. I always say on Twitter, violent feet, violent hips. This is violence. Look at how smooth that is. Look at how violent this step is. Boom. And he's off. And then he stacks him. And then you're totally right here about this head fake. Watch again, though. Watch one step. And he's turning. Uses his eyes to sell it. and then he's taking one step back out. Having that violence in your feet and your hips make you a great route runner and great off the line of scrimmage with your releases. Just
I, I
also
think if
another
you
thing.
talk about like you listen to like the top receivers talk to about like their releases and how they set their routes up, everything's built off timing. So you like with what you mentioned about him being efficient with his feet and how it's only taking him one step really to get in and out of that break, that helps your timing. I mean, if you're using too many steps at the line of scrimmage or if you're using too many steps at the top of your route, it throws off the timing for the quarterback. He's got to hold the ball a little bit longer. There's a lot of things that go into that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a great route by Jerry Jeudy. Great release. This is exactly what we saw him do at Alabama. It's that one step, and he's gone. Judy's fast. He's quick. He's got all that, but he's a technically fantastic route runner. As for what's going on for the rest of this play, it's not too much. Fant's leaking out after pass pro. Good step up in the pocket by Drew Lock. Noah Fant is definitely a guy to watch for the Steelers, athletic, but not really in this arena. I think he's more so of a threat in the seam and in the middle of the field against the guys like Terrell Edmonds and the linebackers. But yes, Jeudy dusting guys on routes, it's nothing new for Jerry Jeudy. Watch him against Mike Hilton and Cameron Sutton this Sunday. All right, so the next play, we're going to show a little bit of where the Steelers' offense can exploit this Broncos defense, specifically in the middle of the football field. These linebackers, Alexander Johnson and Josie Jewell, both of these guys, good run stuffers. We saw this. They really stuffed Derrick Henry quite well on Monday Night Football, but they did not really do well in coverage. Corey Davis, in particular, had a great game. This is just one of these catches on these play-action over routes that he just dusted the Denver Broncos defense on. Cover two man, and the linebackers get completely sucked in by the play action as Davis just works over them on the over routes. And Derek, you and I both know this is pretty basic schematic stuff. Nothing mind-breaking. They had been running the football a lot all game with Derrick Henry. Clearly keyed into that. They just get sucked in. But what are the implications more so for Sunday for the Pittsburgh Steelers?
I think this will be something that the Steelers and Ben are going to really be looking forward to exploiting on Sunday. I'm not really sure if we're ever really going to see like a big increase in play action. Just doesn't every year we hear about it, but I'm not sure if it's ever going to come to fruition. But something that you will definitely see on Sunday, I think, is Juju getting free on a couple of these. Juju being a big receiver, being able to go over the middle on these over routes is something that'll definitely be in the game plan heavily. I think I know you talked a little bit about earlier trying to get Ebron free on a couple of these as well. I definitely agree that Ebron is going to be a bigger part of the game plan on Sunday than he was against the Giants, where he was primarily used as a run blocker and as a kind of a second or third option on a lot of the pass plays.
Yeah, I think those are the two big guys that are going to be implicated from this. Use the size. Chase Claypool also could particularly be used here. Really, any of the receivers could be used on these over routes, Deontay Johnson and James Washington included. But Juju Smith-Schuster, this is right in his route tree. He's run these crossers, these over routes, about 100 times in his career as a Steeler. So you'd expect it to show up yet again on Sunday for the Steelers to exploit. Watch these linebackers against Juju Smith-Schuster and Eric Ebron. That's the matchup to watch on the Steelers offense versus the Broncos defense. This play had huge implications for the Denver Broncos in Week 1. The Deshaun Hamilton miss for Drew Lock. Let's just play it fully one time because there's a lot to get into on this play. You'll see Drew Lock step back, double move from Deshaun Hamilton, miss him deep. But I really want to talk about kind of the whole process. We see it start out in a 3-by-1 set, too high look from the Titans. And we clearly see this is going to be cover 2. No one following Noah Fant motion, so we know it's a zone coverage. And that tells us this is a check. You can see Malcolm Butler talking with the safeties. Originally, Malcolm Butler up on Deshaun Hamilton, almost in a press-type release. You can see them as he backs off. This is changing. This is not cover 2 anymore. This is quarters coverage. And so this changes the entire complexity of this play. The Broncos saw something on film to be able to exploit the change from cover 2 against 3-by-1 sets to the quarters coverage against the 2-by-2 sets. And, I mean, clearly they got open. But what happens post-snap, Derek, that really makes this such a great call? And it's not just Hamilton winning. I mean, there's more that happens post-snap.
Yeah, there's multiple guys open on this play. Partly because I think that this safety here doesn't, even though you see Butler trying to communicate this check with him, I believe that's Amani Hooker. He is not sure of himself on what he's supposed to do here. So he comes over to the flat. I think right now is when he knows that he's in the wrong spot. By then it's too late. But if you actually go back and look to the start of the play, look at Judy on the backside. This is another theme. I know we're like hyping him up, even though this is his second career game. But if you look at this, watch him run this route. Now, again, this is against quarters. So he's going to run this route to the boundary with a fake, another violent fake to the outside to try to act like he's going towards the backside corner. And then he's going to cross Kevin Byard's face here. Locke doesn't ever look at him specifically, but once he gets across Byard's face, I mean, a ball to the middle of the field here, and he's probably scoring there. So, again, Hamilton does do a good job. I think he could do a little bit better job of selling this out route. But one thing that I did notice, they did take a couple shots. They took a deep shot to Judy on an out and up, I think on the first or second possession of the game. Out of a different look, it was a 3-by-1 when he was in the slot. But the double moves are definitely something that the Broncos like to do. Hamilton could definitely do a better job as far as not looking back for the football this early. You see, as soon as he's out of his break, he's already looking back at Locke, which also forces Butler to do the same. But let's look at Locke's mechanics a little bit here on this throw and why he potentially missed a wide open receiver to maybe seal the game.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Drew Lock, clean pocket for the most part. Me and you both mentioned this while we were watching this, but we have no idea what Jadeveon Clowney's doing off the edge here. There is no pressure. I mean, I don't know what he's doing, but there is no pressure here for Drew Lock. He should stand in here and fire this. For some reason, he's leaning back, almost like fading away. Yes, his feet are set, but that's an odd decision. I don't know why he's fading like that. Very odd, and it causes him to sail it because I think his arm angle is a little bit – it's coming out a little too high above his head. Causes it to sail a little bit. He's off his base, and this is what causes it to sail. Another thing, Deshaun Hamilton does look back a little early on this, and so does Malcolm Butler, by the way. Malcolm Butler lets up separation because he looks back early, and then Deshaun Hamilton does that as well. If Hamilton just keeps running instead of looking back, you never know. This could be caught. I think it's still overthrown anyways, but this could be a potential diving catch rather than just no shot at it. But all around, on both sides of the football, it's kind of a mess from both teams. The miscommunication by the Titans to just completely miss 1/4 of the quarter's coverage because Amani Hooker covers the flat. And then, what the Broncos do here, the miss by Locke, and then Hamilton looking back towards the football. This is bad. This is a bad result and bad process for both teams. I think both teams are going to go back and look at this in the film room and not be proud of it. Maybe Jerry Jeudy will be, though.
Right. I think it'll be interesting to see if the Steelers can get pressure on Locke and kind of move him off of this base, even though I don't think that the pressure here necessarily is what moves him off of his base. But me and you talked about that how strong of an arm he has, but he's not necessarily extremely consistent, especially like with his accuracy. I wouldn't call him like a precise thrower. I think he's more generally accurate than he is like a pinpoint accurate thrower. But it'll be interesting to see if the Steelers do run a lot of blitzes like they did on Monday night to get him off of that platform. To try to see if they can force him into some bad decisions or some bad mechanics like we see here.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. It's going to be an intriguing matchup for the Steelers and the Broncos. Kind of a similar matchup to Week 1, but we will see how that turns out. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Let us know if you like it. So we'll do more of this in the future, breaking down some film for you guys, both from the opponents and from the Steelers.